Now we'll hear directly from an MSc and PhD graduate and research associate of UWI-CERMES, who initially made a name for herself, developing a transboundary marine resource and space use information system for the Grenadine island chain. She's also the director of Marine Spatial Information Solutions and has worked on a number of marine spatial planning initiatives across the region, as well as offers drone and geospatial data training services. Since 2018, she has worked with SERMES to identify how drone technologies, web mapping dashboards, and analysis tools can be used to help manage the impacts of sargassum influxes and improve the implementation of adaptation efforts across the Caribbean. Here with a brief overview of her work, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Kim Baldwin.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. My name's Kim Baldwin. Thank you for the great introduction. I'll just jump right in. I also have on the screen some of my other co-authors that I definitely need to give a shout out right at the beginning to the people's names on here. This team has been working with me for the last 5 years on this research, and we've put a lot of hours into this. So I'm just going to start off this talk by talking about the Caribbean, because it makes it a little more challenging working here maybe than other parts of the world for many reasons. First of all, we're working at multiple scales and levels across the region. We have extreme environment here in terms of wind, humidity, lack of cell signal. We also have a lot of limited capacity and inadequate resource issues in terms of money, personnel, time, equipment, etc. So I just like to say that because Hazel Oxenford back in 2017, 2018 asked this question of me, Kim, how can drone technology be used to support regional sargassum management? So with the slide I just mentioned, understanding the context, working for over 20 years in the Caribbean in the spatial GIS data industry, this was not an easy question. So the first thing that, as she said to me, and when I do drone training and monitoring applications for other industries, is first you need to clearly identify your application. What do you want to do? What types of data do you need? And so Hazel and I worked through this, as well as Joseph Weeks. He was doing his master's research project at SERMES back at that point in time, which we supervised him in. And so really we decided, or based on what Hazel's needs were at that point in time, she wanted to monitor the abundance. She wanted a quick and simple way of estimating the amount of sargassum that was washing up on our beaches. And she mentioned the reasons why: for forecasting, also for market supply, demand, for entrepreneurs. We needed to understand how much of it, what times of the year, and where is it coming. We also needed to use, or we wanted information for, national management plan, for mapping local knowledge, incorporating the social, economic situation that was happening. And we wanted to have information from the drones that could be used to help us have discussions. As we know, visual imagery is very powerful. Seeing things from above gives you different perspectives. And we also needed something that could be accessible and shareable around the region. So I only have a few minutes, but I'm going to very quickly walk you through the last 5 years on this one slide. So the first year, we spent a lot of times working on the applications and testing the various drones that were out there. This is, 2017 maybe, is when we started initially discussing this, and then testing flight surveys. What types of data? Were the drones good enough? Was the GIS data good enough? And could it be actually analyzed? Then the second year, I considered this the research year, where we did drone surveys and we did beach surveys, and this actually went on for about 2 years, and we really did a lot of comparative analysis and research on the GIS drone components. And could this, how accurate was this information, and could this be used, to inform, and was it valid? And that's why we're doing the beach surveys as well. And how does this compare to traditional conventional methods? Does it save us time? Does it cost more money? And then at that point, the next year, or 2021 by this point, we worked to develop the drone monitoring protocol, a standardized protocol that could be implemented quickly in under an hour across the Caribbean. So that was the other caveat. It had to be scaled regionally, which made my job even more difficult. And then year 4, we developed the user's guide, we developed the protocol, and we rolled this out across the Caribbean. And I developed a virtual training class that accompanied that, and we actually implemented in 5 countries. And then moving on to this year, we actually implemented in 8 countries last year. Under another grant, we developed participatory mapping methods to use the drone data, again, with this local knowledge to create more useful information for national management. So just giving you some quick pictures, I just went over it all, but basically the first few years, we measured in buckets on the East Coast and weighed and measured and GIS'd more than I would like to do during those 2 years. And what we did, a long story short, is what I realized to scale this regionally, we had to have something that was quick, simple, and easy, that could be working regionally. And so I chose a DJI, a commercial off-the-shelf solution. So we're using DJI regular drones that you can buy for $1,500 and Drone Deploy, which is the world's largest drone mapping company. Again, it has automated tools and dashboards that are very simple and easy to use. It's cloud-based processing. So again, all those limitations could be overcome. You store it, and so it could be accessed regionally, stored regionally, analyzed in the cloud, so you don't need the hardcore computers, and you don't need so many specialists, computer specialists. So then we developed the Sargassum Monitoring Protocol, as I mentioned, which this is the beautiful user's guide that all the ladies that presented in the first section helped me create. And so how do you do it? What do you need? So as I said, we wanted this to be very quick, simple, and easy, and could be scaled and used anywhere in the Caribbean, from Union Island in the Grenadines to Jamaica. So what's required? You need sargassum. We've got that, right? The next is you just need 2 to 3 people of manpower. As I mentioned, we're just using off-the-shelf DJI drones that are capable of mapping, so not every drone is made for mapping. So we're using mapping-grade drones, and we're using Drone Deploy software, which was graciously donated by dronedeploy.org across all the Caribbean for all my teams collecting sargassum data. So thanks to them for that. It requires an Excel spreadsheet, so a basic laptop computer, nothing fancy, nothing high tech, and basic ground measurement equipment that you can either buy or purchase or make with supplies at home. So we have like homemade ways that you can make most of these things as well that is all laid out in that user's guide. All right, and so then to help the learning and guide the teams over about a 6-week period, I developed a virtual training class. And so that helped walk the team through the user's guide, but step 1, through the site assessment, the legalities and the planning of the mission, the team logistics, who's gonna do what. Step 2 was the actual drone and beach field surveys and what the data collection parameters, so everything's included in this guide and in our resources, from Excel spreadsheets to the way your data slate should look, as well as all your drone checklists and data sheets. We provide you with all this information. And then the third component was training the teams and teaching them how to actually process the data and use the annotation tools to create information and share the data out, either as a PDF report or URL web mapping links. So this class, as I mentioned, was the first cohort was launched across the 5 SargAdapt Project countries listed here. You can also see an example. Oh, I thought that was mine. I'm like, am I done? Okay, you can see an example from St. Lucia right here. This is actually Cosambas Bay. Pralin is also another. I wish I shared with you, Bethia, the drone footage from the days they did the surveys. They continue all the way out into the bay. So as I briefly mentioned, it's not just one drone survey we're doing. Actually, the teams in one drone flight battery, so less than 20 minutes, are going up and they're flying 5 different or 5 different drone surveys. And each one of these surveys has a different purpose. So obviously a 360 pano or a video would be more for discussion or outreach, whereas the map might be used to quantify the abundance. And the photo plan is taking landscape shots at set points along the beach at the same angle, the same place, every single time the beach is monitored, which is very important. Because sometimes you go to a beach, if you take your picture, as you know, at a different angle, you get a different perspective. So this actually makes sure that the pictures are geo-referenced, the panos, the videos, everything is geo-referenced as well. So we're able to spatially correlate things. So then the next step the teams were guided on, which Hazel and Michaela took the lead on, was the beach monitoring protocol that associated. So you fly the drone, but then you need to do a very quick transect. I had a video, I took it out to save time, but you basically, in a matter of a few minutes, you flip a transect down and you measure the depth. So the drone can't tell you how deep the sargassum is, but it gives you the area, and we quickly interpolate depth to give you volume. And then the last step, the teams, as I mentioned, they were taught how to upload the data. And this was, again, it was done doing it virtually across 5 countries simultaneously. How to upload the data, and then how to create the abundance information, whether it's using the Excel table, as well as in the drone deploy software, and then how to export and share the data as well. So this was a great first training cohort. It was actually run last summer for about 6 weeks, 5 countries, in which 7 monitoring sites were set up across the 5 countries and 19 mapping surveys conducted by 22 organizations. Now, I ran the second cohort of this class last year as well under a different grant with Canary, who's speaking next, in the Darwin Plus. So we actually implemented this monitoring protocol in 3 more countries, and at the beginning of this year, actually just like a week ago, I released the next component of my drone monitoring, which is the participatory mapping component. So that was just done, and I'm just getting the project reports from these 3 countries, which is really exciting this week. So I'll be sure to share that if anybody's interested. And last but not least, what's next? Someone asked me this question. I could probably spend an hour talking about this, but I will talk about it in 1 minute, 2 maybe. So what's next? We've come up with great methodology. People have talked about this again and again. We've got data, we've trained teams, and the grant's over. So it's the data access and continuity that we really need to think about now. We've got data, we've got teams trained, it can be collected, but how are we going to sustain this and implement this long term? How are we going to access this data? And so there is already an existing hub out there called the Sargassum Information Hub. There's lots of information hubs. But my recommendation would be to find one of these pre-existing national or regional hubs or global hubs, and we can connect through a geospatial, like web mapping dashboard, this information. So you can have an existing website and you build in basically, maybe people saw those COVID dashboards, with the numbers during COVID, and you saw, so you can create something like that for Sargassum, basically. They're already made in templates where basically the drone data could be back-end integrated. Again, a programmer does this, not me. And then machine learning even could be done to do the whole automated analysis, where teams just fly, and then everything's outputted in the report. And we've done all the work for all the steps, but now we need somebody to build it, and that takes a little bit of money. But there's a lot of people that want to access that, so I'm really heavily pushing here that we take the work that's been done in this and keep moving forward and find ways to make this publicly. I mean, that if you can reach out to us and we can give you the data, it's accessible. But, that takes people. So to make it a public access, downloadable, everyone and anyone that wants this can get it, whether it's a video footage or the data, is my dream. And have in real time, the drones could, this is so possible. As the drone lands, we could get that information and it could use the cell to real time push it out there to those market people that need it. So again, the technology's there. We just need the funds to build it. So that is, in conclusion, everything that I would like to say. I did it. Everyone that knows me knows I love to talk, especially about drones. So I just really thinking back over this project over the last 5 years, I got a little emotional last night. But Drone Deploy, Esri, NC State University's Center for Geospatial Studies, for 3 years, their tech supports, their agencies have helped and worked with me again and again and again. I'd also like to thank everybody at SERMES, all the students, the researchers, everybody that's participated, my entire drone team. Thank you, and that's it for me. There's additional resources that have been mentioned, and thanks everyone.